Let's get started with our first Illustrator project by first getting the name of the file from our instructions here. So I'm going to copy that, go back to Illustrator and create new. I am going to be asking you to use the web large artboard size because it's 1920 by 1080, that very familiar set of resolution right here. And I've given you the name of the file. You want to make sure you put it in here and add your name to it. And the first thing you do is to then save this file in its proper home. So you can see I've already been here once. It's the Vector Graphics project folder, the folder you should have made already for this new project. I'm going to go ahead and save that file there, and you can just click OK whenever this comes up. We'll start off by drawing some lines. This is the selection tool once you have things to select. The line tool here does have other tools that live with it, so clicking and holding on these will get you the other items. Now, when you first start up, it's not going to be on Essentials Classic for the workspace. It'll be under Essentials, which has the layer open here, as you can see, and missing a lot of the tools that you saw a moment ago. So I recommend going back to the Essentials Classic workspace for easy access to the stuff up here. So that set of layers that you saw, this is the button for it. F7 is the keyboard shortcut you should use, though, to bring your layers and then to hide them. You can see I cannot actually see all the four corners at once. So using the Control minus and plus on the keyboard lets you zoom in and out. If you hit Control 0, it will fill in to the largest space it can. I'm going to bring it down one notch, and I'm going to use my line tool. I'm going to draw from the corners into the center. And you'll notice that it's trying to help us, and it will tell you when you're on the exact center. You can see it created two anchors and then drew a line right in between those 2 points. Let me draw the others. I'm bringing them in and intersecting with that anchor right in the middle. So they're sharing that point. So this is an X that meets right in the middle, but it's made up of 4 lines. If I want to select all 4 lines, Control A is pretty handy at this point because it selects everything that's visible here. And I can increase the weight of this stroke, how many points that it is in thickness, by clicking the up arrow here, and you can see all the lines getting thicker. We can also change things like what the shape of the line is. What does it look like between one anchor point and the other? And I'm going to choose this triangular one here, so it comes to a very sharp point right here in the middle. If I select away, you can see that I can zoom in and zoom out, Control 0. And you couldn't see much of a change because it just keeps redrawing those lines. Now I'm going to bring up my layers here, and layer 1 is not a good name for the layer. I'm going to go ahead and call this the X. Now you can see what we see on the screen here, but this has actually got more parts to it. And clicking on this little arrow will show you the 4 paths that were created with the line tool, and they can be hidden or revealed with these eyeballs here. Okay, you can also select something directly, such as this line right here, by clicking on this little button next to it. I'm going to hide this set of layers right here and show you some other things. So this here is the fill, and this is the stroke. And we can say whether we want there to be a stroke or not. So I can choose for a stroke or a fill to be solid, a gradient, or to not be there. So I'm going to put this back on a solid color, and notice it kind of reset things. So knowing that the others were at a particular weight is very helpful. If I click on this one, I can see it was 10 points. I'll go back to this one, bring it back up to 10, and change it so it matches the others. Let's draw some circles now, and we're going to do those on separate layers. You always want different things on different layers if you want to control them separately. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this yellow circle, because that's what I plan to draw here. Let me click my ellipse tool. It may be on rectangle to start with. There are some other tools in here that are handy. Ellipse is what we want. And I can draw an ellipse this way. And you can notice that it can be all different shapes. To draw perfect circles, just hold down the Shift key and it will make a perfect circle for you. It can be a little bit awkward drawing these unless you know a little trick here, because we want these to be at the center. So I'm going to move this one until it tells me that the center of the circle has intersected with the center of the page. Zoom out a little bit here. I can hold down Shift, grab a corner, and I can make this larger or smaller, but notice it's changing where the center is. Holding down the Alt key will keep it centered and increase or decrease the size. So I'm going to make it about as big as it can go, and let's affect the stroke here. I can double click on this and choose a different color, and I did say that this one was going to be yellow, so I'm picking a nice bright yellow. If I select away, you can barely see it because it's a very thin stroke. I can select it and increase the weight, and now we can see that yellow circle a bit better. Now we can see this X in the middle because there is no fill to it. So we'll talk about fills and gradients in just a bit. Let's make a few more circles by making a new layer, and let's just call this one blue. I'm going to go and choose the blue color. Another way to do that is with a quick drop-down menu here, so I can just switch my fill to one of those colors. I can go back to my ellipse tool, and this time I'm going to draw my ellipse from the center. So if I click and doesn't work. I need to unselect ellipse. If I hold down the Shift and the Alt key, you'll notice that it will also draw the circle starting in the center. I did lose my color, so because I had selected the yellow one, and now I've got a blue one. But notice that it's on the wrong layer. When I selected the yellow one, I accidentally got both circles on the same one. So I'm simply going to take this blue one and drag and drop it on the blue circle. So I can turn the yellow one on and off and the blue one on and off. Let's make one more. Hold down Alt and Shift to get a perfect circle starting right in the center. And let's change this one to green. Once again, keeping track of your layers can be tricky. So keep them organized. And how do I know which one of these is the green one? It's a little hard to tell. We'll use the eyeball, and that will tell you this must be the green one. And now I've got 3 circles and the X, and each one can be turned on and off separately. They are perfect circles, and they are centered directly in the middle of the page. F7, and you can see what this sample graphic is starting to look like. You can see right here that there's an asterisk, means this has not been saved. If I press Control S, the asterisk goes away, and when I close Illustrator, it doesn't complain. It just closes, and that's how you know for sure that it's been saved.